16th and 17th centuries were a destructive time in Europe. The most brutal and coincidentally the last was the 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War took place in Germany. This was a prime battleground for such a war because it was one of the few countries in Europe with a decentralized government. All the territorial leaders were loath to give up their land and warred against the development of a centralized government. The people of Germany were disorganized and held deep hatreds in addition to the religious strife that was also present throughout Europe at that time. The volatility of the situation was clear, the necessity of the war wasn't.
In 1618, Habsburg Ferdinand ascended the Bohemian throne with intentions to restore Catholicism to East Habsburg, a region encompassing Bohemia, Austria, and Poland. Ferdinand, who was also in line to becoming the Holy Roman Emperor, was educated by the Jesuits and was a passionate Catholic. As King of Bohemia, Ferdinand revoked the religious freedoms of the Protestant Bohemians, originally set down in 1575. Bohemian nobility in Prague reacted by throwing Ferdinand's regents out a window 50 feet above the ground in an event referred to as the defenestration.
We are regents of King Ferdinand, the East ruler of Habsburg. Protestants of Bohemia, we are here in the city of Prague to discuss issues of religious importance with you.
The religious freedoms we have enjoyed as Protestant Bohemians since 1575 have been revoked by the Catholic King Ferdinand.
We have no religious freedoms. Our loyalties are no longer to King Ferdinand.
In 1619, Ferdinand became the Holy Roman Emperor. However, the Bohemian Protestants instead acknowledged Frederick V, a Calvinist feudal lord. This sparked war between the revolting Bohemian Protestants and an unpopular King Ferdinand. Ferdinand's allies included Spain, Maximilian of Bavaria, and John George I of Saxony, all of whom marched behind Tilly, Ferdinand's military leader at the Battle of White Mountain in 1620. Frederick V's army was defeated within 2 years. Frederick had been conquered, the revolting Bohemians silenced, and Bohemia was recatholicized, ending the Bohemian period of the 30 Years' War in 1625.
Many thought that a reconquest of recatholicization of the empire now loomed ahead, which was precisely Ferdinand II's idea. Christian IV, the Lutheran king of Denmark, was eager to extend the Danish influence over the coastal towns of the North Sea. He picked up the Protestant banner of resistance, opening the Danish period of conflict. Entering Germany with his army, he was quickly humiliated by Maximilian and forced to retreat to Denmark. Maximilian's success made him a more untrustworthy ally to Ferdinand. Albert of Wallenstein was a powerful Protestant mercenary who was a more pliable for Ferdinand's policies. Wallenstein gained a great deal of territory by joining Ferdinand. However, Wallenstein had broken Protestant resistance so successfully that Ferdinand could issue the Edict of Restitution in 1629. It dramatically reasserted the Catholic safeguards of the Peace of Augsburg. It also ordered the return of all church lands acquired by Lutherans. This new edict struck panic in the hearts of Protestants and Habsburg opponents everywhere.
The third period of the war was the Swedish period. Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden was the king of a unified Lutheran nation, and he became the new leader of the Protestants during the Swedish period of the 30 Years' War, which lasted from 1630 to 1635. In 1630, Gustavus, who was in alliance with the electors from Saxony and Brandenburg, won a smashing victory that is regarded as the most decisive engagement of the whole war. This victory at Breitenfeld dramatically reversed the course of the war. Gustavus was just a military genius. Albert of Wallenstein, a powerful mercenary who joined the forces of Ferdinand II, II, Holy Roman Emperor earlier in the war, was a major factor in imperial success. However, Ferdinand came to resent Wallenstein's independence, so Ferdinand figured that Wallenstein had served his purpose and promptly had him assassinated. This just goes to show that the real motivations of the 30 Years' War were in fact greed and political gain, not just religion as it would seem. The Peace of Prague was issued in 1635 and was a compromise between the German Protestant state and Ferdinand. The Swedish refused to join the agreement because they wanted to maximize their investment in the war. So the Swedes' resistance led to the most devastating phase of the war.
The French entered the war in 1635, helping with men, munitions, and financial subsidies. The war continued for 13 years until the suffering Germans began talking of peace in Westphalian cities, Munster and Osnabrück, in 1644. By then, around one-third of the German population had died directly relating to the war, causing one of the biggest European hardships since the Black Death in the 14th century.
The 30 Years' War was ended when the Treaty of Westphalia, or whatever, came into play in 1648. This treaty ended the fighting in the Holy Roman Empire. There's still a couple fights going on, so I'll tell you about later. So this treaty brought back the Cuius Regio from the Peace of Augsburg. And what this said was that whoever ruled the land could decide its religion. The treaty gave Calvinists their legal recognition, what they were longing for all that period of time. And the Swiss Confederacy and the United Province of Holland got their legal independence, while Bavaria got to the rank of an elector state. The treaty's provisions gave the German princes to rule dominant over the principalities, but the treaty caused German division and political weakness. Between this time, Brandenburg, Prussia, and Austria emerged as the dominant states of Germany due to the treaty, allowing Protestant growth even though the Pope didn't agree with it. Even though the battles ended in the Holy Roman Empire, outside of the Holy Roman Empire, France and Spain still fought until 1659 when France defeated Spain. France became the most dominant country in Europe as a Habsburg kingdom faded. During the 17th century, Sing-Swing nation-states started own with their political and cultural and religious beliefs, started the beginning of the competitive nationalism of the modern world.
We are regrets of King Ferdinand, the East ruler of Habsburg. Wait 1 second, did you say regrets? Yeah.
The third period of the war was the Swedish period. Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden was the king of a unified Lutheran nation, and he became the new leader. Victory that is regarded as the most decisive engagement of the whole war. This victory at Breitenfeld dramatically reversed the course of the war. Gustavus was just a military genius. Albert of Wallenstein, such a powerful mercenary who had joined the forces of Ferdinand II, and he was the Holy Roman Emperor earlier in the war, was a major factor in imperial success. However, Ferdinand came to resent Wallenstein's independence, so Ferdinand figured that Wallenstein had served his purpose and